I want you to picture this. So let's say you're talking to a friend. Just a normal conversation. Nothing too serious. Nobody is even watching you. You're not nervous or anything. It's not like you're in a meeting, or a date, or trying to impress anyone. You're literally just talking. And then, right in the middle of a sentence, you stop. Not because you lost your train of thought. You still know exactly what you're trying to say. The meaning is there, fully clear in your head. But the specific word you need, just disappears. Just like that. And the strange part is this. It's not even a difficult word. It's not some rare academic term. It's a word you use all the time. A word you could probably spell instantly if someone asked you to write it down. But in that exact moment, your brain just blanks. You pause. You try another word. You start describing it instead. Maybe you even gesture a little without realizing. The other person is just watching you, waiting. And then one of two things happens. Either you eventually find it, or you move on. And later, maybe in the shower, or doing something random, it suddenly pops back into your head as if nothing happened. And if that has ever happened to you, it's not random. It's not you forgetting words. It's something very specific happening in your brain in real time. Now, before we go further, let's clear something up. A lot of people assume this only happens when you're nervous, like job interviews, presentations, or moments where you're under pressure. And yeah, anxiety absolutely can make it worse, because stress narrows attention. And when attention narrows, language becomes harder to access. That part is real, but that's not the full explanation, because this also happens when you're completely relaxed. You could be on the couch talking to someone you trust, or on the phone with your mom, or walking with a friend. Just normal conversation. And still, a simple everyday word disappears mid-sentence. So the real question is, why does that happen? Let's walk through a few moments you'll probably recognize. You're talking about your routine. You want to say, I've been pretty consistent with going to the gym. But right when you reach the word consistent, nothing comes out. The idea is there. You understand it fully. You still know exactly what you mean. But the word itself doesn't arrive on time. So you start working around it. I've been pretty regular, like steady. I've been keeping up with it. Same meaning. Different route. Or this one. You're talking to your partner about your week. You want to say you felt overwhelmed, but the word doesn't load. So you explain it instead. It was just too much. Everything was happening at once. I couldn't even keep up. And sometimes the other person jumps in. Overwhelmed? And instantly you go, yes, that's it. And what's interesting is that moment of recognition, because you didn't learn the word again. You already knew it. It was never gone. It just wasn't accessible at that exact moment. Or another one. You're trying to describe someone acting unreasonably. You want to say irrational, but it doesn't come. So instead you say, they're not thinking straight. Nothing they're saying is making sense. Same concept, different packaging. Now here's where the psychology actually gets interesting. When you speak, your brain is doing multiple things at once, not one, multiple. First is conceptual activation. This is the meaning layer, the idea itself. What you're trying to express before language even shows up. That part is fast, almost instant. Your brain forms meaning before you even think in full sentences. But then comes something more fragile, lexical access. This is where your brain tries to map meaning onto an actual word stored in memory. And here's the key thing most people don't realize. Meaning and words are not retrieved the same way. Meaning is flexible, distributed, fast. Words are specific nodes inside a much larger network. So when you try to say overwhelmed, your brain doesn't look it up. It activates a network. Too much, pressure, stress, overload, can't cope, everything at once. All of them activate together. Now, here's the problem. When too many related nodes activate at the same time, they compete. This is called retrieval competition. Instead of one clear path to the world, you get multiple signals pulling in different directions, so your brain is not blocked. It's overloaded. And that creates a delay. That delay is what you feel as, I know the word, but I can't get it out. Now, your brain doesn't just stop there. It starts compensating. You begin describing around the word. Too much? I couldn't keep up. Everything at once. You are circling the meaning instead of directly accessing it. And sometimes that circling is enough for the correct word to finally appear. That's why it suddenly clicks. Not because you tried harder, but because the system finally settles. There's actually a name for this. It's called the tip of the tongue state. That moment where you know the word exists, you can almost feel it, but it refuses to come out. And this is important. It is not a memory failure, Because if someone says the word to you, you recognize it instantly, which means the storage is intact. Access is what failed. Now let's go deeper. Why does this happen more in casual conversation? Because your brain is working in live mode. You're not pre-writing sentences, you're building them as you speak. So your brain prioritizes flow over precision, meaning moves forward even when language is still catching up. That creates pressure between speed and accuracy, and sometimes speed wins. Now there's another layer, interference. When a word doesn't come immediately, your brain starts pulling similar words. So if you're trying to say consistent, you also activate steady, regular, stable, routine. Now all of them are active at once. And instead of helping, they compete. That competition creates noise, and that noise makes it harder to isolate the correct word. That's why it feels blocked. Not because it's missing, but because too many nearby options are active at the same time. And when things settle, the word becomes clear again. That's also why it comes back later. Now here's something important. This happens to literally everyone. Smart people, fast speakers, writers, professionals, everyone. It's not a knowledge issue, it's a timing issue. Your brain is coordinating meaning, memory, language, and speech all at once. And most of the time, it does it so smoothly you don't notice. You only notice the delay. So what do you do when it happens? You pause. Naturally. No panic. Just give your brain a second. Then you describe instead of forcing the word. Because communication is meaningful, not perfection. And then you keep going. Don't overthink it. Because the more attention you give the missing word, the harder it becomes to find. And most of the time, it comes back later when you're not even trying. And the funny part is this, it was never gone. It was just temporarily out of reach. Human conversation is imperfect. We pause, we adjust, we recover, we continue, and it still works. The meaning still lands. The conversation still flows. And if you've ever experienced this, you're not alone. It happens to literally everyone, even fluent speakers, even professionals, even people who speak for a living. It's just part of how human communication works. And if you enjoyed this kind of breakdown, I'm going to be posting more videos where we break down simple, everyday human behaviors and the psychology behind them in a very simple way, like this. So go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you in the next video.